Yeah. Turn that off. Please stand.
To the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. No bills, no minutes. Mr. Superintendent.
Oh, thank you. All right, in your packet is the memorandum of agreement between the Unit D union, that's custodians, clerks, and secretaries. And we've negotiated for about maybe 8 sessions, and they could not send a representative here tonight, but we have spoken about this in executive session, and I believe there was an issue or a concern that we sent to you about the sort of the response to that from the attorney. So it's ready for your approval and your signing if you see fit. Again, this part isn't the full contract, although Mary did include the current contract in the packet. So that's the thick packet, and then the 3-pager or so is the actual MOA. Is there any discussion or anything of that nature?
So, Terry, did you say you asked the attorney for feedback regarding what we talked about in executive session?
Yes.
Okay.
But it never got really that far.
Okay.
Because of the ground rules. And I
Okay.
think that's what I sent you guys, that one of the ground rules was after X number of meetings, you cannot bring up anything new at that point. So she did talk about, she felt that somebody from the district needed to be in the buildings for liability's sake and all of that. But the typical lawyer was, the legal ruling was, you can't do anything about it because it was after the 4th meeting when this was first brought up. So that's really the.
How many meetings did we get
We had
together, though?
about 8.
With the executive session with the school committee?
Oh, no, I'm talking about the negotiation sessions. That's what the ground rules cover. So the first meeting, there was a set of ground rules, I believe we sent it to you.
Yeah.
And number 6 of the ground rules was that, you can bring up anything up to the 4th meeting. After that, you can't be bringing up any new topics or any, and so the topic.
So how many meetings did we have with them before we met in executive session for the first time?
How many, I think we had probably already had about 6 meetings, and nothing was going on. I negotiated this, because it was during the day when they were available.
Okay, I mean, do you kind of see where I'm going? I mean, if the first time we met in executive session, it was already too late to propose any changes?
That's
Am I-
not
am I-
how, that's not
okay.
how the memorandum of agreement goes. When you set up negotiations, the parties in the negotiations.
Yeah,
That's not an atypical stipulation. So that all the proposals sort of, you contain the
They all
proposals.
come together.
So executive session isn't for new proposals, it's for approving or not approving a contract as it's submitted, not to bring new things to the table.
okay. So, new guy, still learning stuff, like when was the school committee, I mean, are we expected to give feedback on the negotiations, or is that something that's supposed to be handled, like we just see it at the very end?
Well, I think typically, I have somebody with me from the school committee.
Okay.
And they would probably say, here's what's going on or whatever.
Sure.
I believe I did send you something, I guess you'd say that my proposal, what we had talked about.
Mhm.
But then, again, we met and kicked it around, and because I suppose if I had been quick enough to bring that up and put it on a piece of paper, let's say the first or second session, then it would still be sort of on the table, and the lawyer would have said, you can bring it up anytime you want, because it was part of the deal. But it was not until, one member brought it up. And then, again, it's
Okay.
too late.
I
And I
mean,
think we had voted to to approve you entering into negotiations.
Yes,
At the
yes,
beginning.
yeah. So, I mean, I guess kind of live and learn. I mean, that wasn't a huge issue with me, but it might have been with some of you. But, you
Yeah,
know.
and this is still be, I mean, approved to enter into negotiations, that's fine, but I thought that that's what that meant, like we were beginning negotiations. I don't know, I'm, obviously there's nothing we can do about it now, but I'm just a little disappointed that, I just feel like by the time we met to discuss this, it seems like it was, that's already at the very end of it, so, I mean, like you said, live and learn, so
I mean,
next time I'll
typically,
know.
remember, like the teachers go on usually for quite a few months. And
Yeah.
that's different, and usually there's not something that says in that one. But because this is during the day, some of the people are actually working, and they come, the sessions are only about an hour, hour and a half long, because we have to keep it moving.
Right.
And again, during the day, it's tough to get you guys to do this.
Okay.
And typically, I have been the one that negotiates this contract anyway.
It was something that I brought up a long time ago, but I agree. I got to get more familiar with the process and when I have to voice my concerns with something. So
Yeah.
I'll just leave it at that.
And generally speaking, in the future for, when contracts, for example, when the CTA contracts open up, generally we reach out to administrators, school committee, everybody in terms of input. What we're looking for, we would do that in executive session. If there's a list of things, that's typically how that would come up. So maybe we just didn't have that formal session, but that would be when
Yeah.
we'd say, I'd like to see these things, and if you couldn't see those things, that would be discussed early on, so. And I suspect that the thing that you were interested in would have been a tough one anyway, because there are a couple of issues there, so I don't know that it would ever have gone through, but the time to do that would be in the very beginning of as you're mapping out your strategy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
And again, at the end of it all, I think we did that, I think, last week. You saw that over 3 years, the increase is actually less than $100,000, which isn't too bad. And these folks really work hard. We've cut the numbers because we've had to. So I don't think it's an exorbitant amount. Basically, it's 2% this year, which is kind of what everyone was getting locally as well.
So the motion's been made and seconded, and there was discussion, so we need a vote to approve the,
Yeah, vote to approve, and then we should probably maybe do a
Everybody
couple
sign
of
it.
copies, and
any other comments or anybody else? All right, all those in favor of approving the contract as it's been submitted?
I regularly recuse myself.
Oh,
I'm
right.
involved in
Yes.
any negotiations.
3. And opposed? Okay, 3-1. You want to, pass that along?
It's helpful. You can go in with that.
And we'll send this to Ben. Where are we here? Oh, that's the old. Yeah, right here it is.
He's signing with it.
Yes. So, this one.
It's Bill McCoy.
So we just have 2 good original copies.
Should be 3 there, I think, right? We signed just 2.
Okay?
Do you need a third? Do you need a third?
Do you need a third? You're all
I
set.
don't know, if you have another one, let's do one more, why not? And again, traditionally, they would be here. Their union has already accepted the proposal quite some time ago.
Who made the motion, the original motion for the contract? Did you?
With me, I can't.
I did. Okay.
Joel
Joel did,
was
sorry.
motion. And who was second?
Who seconded it? Did you second to get it under discussion?
I second.
All right.
All right, while that is being done, why don't I get on to the next topic, which is the use of the football fields. Use of the main field. I want to tell you my plan, and then get going on some other stuff. You want to pass that, pass those down? Okay, thank you very much. Anyway, it was my intention all along to pretty much allow the fields to be used in this emergency situation. Excuse me. The problem that has kind of just blown up somehow or other is more in the policy and how we kind of handled it. So what I want to do is do a quick discussion of just some reminders about the policy. This is not the time to change the policy, because the policy in a way doesn't need changing. And what I want to do is discuss that quickly, and then grant this group for the rest of this season only to, play out what they have to do. I believe it's the older kids, is it two,
Two teams.
5 and 6? No,
It's the sixth grade team and the seventh, eighth grade team.
6, okay. And the other team,
Technically, I'm not here from the league.
that's okay. You made yourself familiar before, so now.
Yeah, and the paper printed it that we were, and I just wanted to be clear.
All right, no, so, and anyway, the other teams would continue to play on that field that you signed up for originally, so. But anyway, back to this. If anybody needs to see this, Gary, you want one of these, that's fine. I'm not suggesting we change the policy again because it doesn't need changing, but I just want to make sure we all understand what this is about. So I wrote this statement that says, "The main football field is for school-related activities only. Any exceptions will be granted by the superintendent of schools only." Now, that is not really a change from the policy, but when Ed brought this up to begin with, it's true. The policy doesn't say you can't use the main football field. It's been sort of the procedure and policy of the superintendent of schools myself and the last 3, to keep the football field used for school-related activities only. And doesn't matter how it happened or whatever, the Clinton Youth Football League was the very first community group ever to use the main football field. And they will finish the season out. But I think with this statement, as long as we all understand where I'm coming from, I'm not gonna be here next year. If I were, I would tell the league that, no, you cannot use the field, because I guess I'm giving them notice right now that you've got a year to kind of work this out with Fuller Field. There is a meeting, I wish I knew the exact date and time, but it's this week, between, I think it's the Board of Selectmen and the Fuller Field Commission. That's the time for parents, every one of those parents, to get up there and let people know what's going on with Fuller Field and what's happening and what you need. So that's why, the way I wrote that statement, any exceptions will be granted by the superintendent of schools only, which means, of course, right away, there can be exceptions to the rule, all right? But it's not the call of the Clinton School Committee. This probably should have never been brought before the school committee. It was always the superintendent of schools' call. And Dr. Slavin and Ed Philbin and Jerry Gaw and myself for the longest time until, very recently. The procedure or the policy was nobody uses that field but Clinton High students, basically. We have seen a change in the last few years anyway, with thanks to Tony Gannon and people like that, where they're getting other school teams on the field. Robert mentioned the other day about Mike Hightower, who even suggested maybe it would be a good idea to have every one of the leagues that use our fields have one special night on that field, opening night for youth soccer, for youth football, for the new flag football league, whatever, one special night under the lights for everybody. But I am against, and I want to make sure everybody understands that, and it won't matter at this point anyway, against this becoming the home field of some other group, all right? I want it to be the home field of the Gales. And that's the way it's been for 15 straight years. I'd like to keep it that way. But again, the exceptions, and that could mean the next superintendent will have an exception every weekend. That will be up to that superintendent. Or he may close it off completely, or she may close it off completely. But that will be up to them, not the school committee. So anyway, at this point, does anybody have any questions about that or comments about that? Again, it goes with the fact that I'm granting, you know, full use of the field for those older teams, and if there's playoffs, that's fine too. You know, we understood. What?
There will be.
There will be, all right, we have a promise. But I just want everyone to understand that. It probably should have never gotten this far. It's my call anyway. Nobody likes a school committee that interferes and micromanages.
Are you gonna have a custodian on duty up at the,
No, that's a good question, because here's the most ironic statement of the night. I think you need to see Tony Gannon about the lights, the bathrooms, and all those things, all right?
right,
'Cause I
'cause
don't
they
usually
definitely
handle
need to be
that.
supervised.
But
I mean,
yes,
that's my only
yes,
concern.
Yes, and,
It's clearly there was a problem last
yeah, there
time.
was a problem last time with the bathrooms that we didn't really bring up because we actually didn't know it was being used. So, but I mean, I just, and while I'm at it, I might as well say, since we're waiting for Glenn Kuchar, and I can drone on and on, it just, I think it's important. It was brought up by a school committee member today, and I've been saying it to my staff and my administrators for the last month now. This is a big turning point in the school district. We're looking for a new leader. You know, we're going through a big process now. There'll be a lot of people looking at us. If you're a real sharp applicant, I would imagine you're going to be on our website. You're going to be reading the item online, or maybe even buying it, you know, right, Gary?
Be better.
Possibly, yes. And again, probably going on YouTube and watching these meetings. I just asked the school committee to be careful, because I was probably the only applicant ever as a superintendent that told people, you know, at my interview that I would not be micromanaged. And that's how strongly I felt about it, meaning if you don't want to go along with it, that's fine, just don't pick me. And we've had a great time for the last, I'd say at least 6 years of that. You've kind of let me do my thing, and I've answered to you, and I think we've made a lot of progress. There's plenty more to do, that's for sure. But I just think we need to be careful, because now we're going to be a focus, and people are going to be watching. And this is not going to be a cozy, wonderful place to come and work. If anyone thinks that the school committee is trying to manage the schools, when that's not your job, that's my job. Any thoughts on that soliloquy?
No, it was an edited version of War and Peace. That was very well done. No, I do, no, obviously, the school committee's role, obviously, in the budgetary process and policy and things of that nature, and I've always said the superintendent's the CEO, and that's how the schools get run. So, and I don't think anybody on the board disagrees with you on that, so. We have about 10 minutes, so we could sit here in silence, or we could adjourn for 10 minutes, because until Glenn gets here, I think that might be more pleasant.
Can I just ask one quick question?
Yes.
Is there a fee associated with the use of the
Yeah,
field?
no, you're
Awesome.
Clintonians, and these are Clinton kids, and that's what I didn't want to get into, any of that fee stuff. It's just,
Thank you.
I just wanted you to know how I feel about the fact that this is an emergency, and you're in trouble, and you need some help, and that's great. But
appreciated.
it's not a open door necessarily.
As parents, we thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, and I'm glad you came to that conclusion, Mr. Angano. But it's also a question of equity. So if you open up for one group, you gotta be very careful how you open up for every other group. And clearly this was an emergency. You know, there is a cost that we incur with that, you know, the lights, you know. If something is broken, who's responsible, things like that. We wanna make sure those fields are available for everybody to enjoy, you know, and maintain them. Because, you know, everything has a life to it. And if you don't take care of it, you don't budget for it, you don't plan ahead, you know, like a 15-year plan. Like with the track, you know, we learned a valuable lesson with that. We don't wanna be in that situation ever again. So we're trying to be proactive. So we're not trying to deny the kids any access. That's not what we're here for. But the superintendent is just his call. That authority shouldn't have been given the way it was, but it was. But the superintendent has that recourse to rescind any policy that's incorrect. So, but we do thank you for coming out and expressing your concerns, because that's what we need. You know?
So, yeah, oh, sorry.
Well, no, I agree with everything. I do think sometimes it's school committee's responsibility to inquire and to ask about the decision-making process that goes into
You're
making a
right,
decision.
absolutely.
But I agree 100%, it's not our job to ever tell any superintendent or any principal what to do. Just really to understand, possibly to give an opinion that does not have to be followed, and to generate discussions, sometimes with members of the community, sometimes with other board members. I mean, we have different roles and responsibilities, but we all collectively work together for the good of the school. So I agree with what you said, Mr. Angano.
Thank you. Shall we take a coffee break?
Motion to.
Motion,
adjourn.
we got a motion to adjourn till Mr. Kuchar gets here?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'll make it.
Motion's been made.
10-minute break.
Can we get second?
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor of a quick break?
10-minute break.
All right.
Oh, I get food. Where do I get food? Because I haven't been
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, it's, oh, you got extra,
Hi,
Gary,
thank
do you want one of these?
I don't think it's changed.
I have one from last time.
Yeah.
Now I got food.
I don't think that's the same one. unless-
Okay, everybody ready?
Oh, it is? Okay. Yes,
I
we're
guess-
ready.
I don't think we have to do the Pledge of Allegiance again.
I don't think we have to do the pledge or anything like that.
So I guess maybe we need a motion to reconvene. That might be.
Okay, motion
make
to
it-
reconvene.
So moved, Mr. Chairman, motion to reconvene.
I will second.
Motion's been made and seconded to reconvene. Welcome, Mr. Kuchar. Everybody in favor of that? Sure it's unanimous. So, what we wanted to do this evening, and I had handed out a loose sheet of elements of a timeline, not the timeline. Some general points, some examples of attributes that we may look for. One of the things that we talked about, and it's probably one of the more difficult things to set, but in terms of offering a salary, one of the things that we do not have as of now is a curriculum director. So our present superintendent wears multiple hats, and we I believe are going to try and budget for and take that off the superintendent's list so that the salary would be realistic for responsibilities. So I suppose one of the things that would be helpful is perhaps, and may not be the first thing, but for you to help us figure out what an offering salary should be, you know, what's going on in like districts and like responsibilities. So that would be helpful. We talked about having focus groups with both the teachers and parents, so probably do 2 in a night, so you could do the teachers or parents first, and then same school do that a second session, and gather input. I took your input to heart, and the search committee will be 11 members. We had 12 last time, but it's a manageable size group. It's not fully named yet. We had a letter in the paper, and I'm assuming I will have town folks that are expressing interest by Friday. The teachers I've reached out to have said yes. Mr. Hastings has said yes, so he's identified a student to be on that. She said yes, so that part of it's taken care of. So, you guys, how do you want, how would be the best way to organize?
Well, first thing is, if your search committee is being compiled,
Yes.
you want to start thinking about a timeline that will include a search committee orientation, deadlines for submission of your applications.
Mm-hmm.
As I mentioned as part of my initial presentation, we will be very happy to orient the search committee
Mm-hmm.
to provide that support for them. And we have some resources to guide the search committee, including a very detailed samples of dozens of questions that are good to ask of the candidates.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to need a date for a search committee orientation,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to need some dates that you can stick to, at least with regard to closing your application date.
Mm-hmm.
Every other date can be flexible once you do that. But after your applications close, you will need 10 days for the search committee to review them and decide whom to interview and who to invite. You'll need a couple of weeks to get the interviews done, so the search committee wants to save its dates for questioning as quickly as they're oriented. Because the worst thing that can happen is the search committee comes on board, you present them with the candidates, and then you have to herd 11 cats to be available to get the questions developed and the interviews executed. You may wish to have an electronic survey for people to give you additional information.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do, we have samples of that. I can, before I leave here, download some of those samples with your secretary, with the superintendent, just to have some
That'd be-
examples of what they look like. But I will tell you that regardless of what the questions are, the most valuable information will come from the open response questions. In other words, please tell us what you would like us to know with regard to what you'd like to see in your next superintendent. What are some of the questions you might want to have posed? What are some of the major skills that a superintendent should possess? You can ask that without being asked to produce a checklist, and we can gather that information for you and get that up, and we'll need some dates for that. So if we have the search committee orientation scheduled, dates for focus groups, as you said, we can certainly do members of the faculty either during or after the school day, and then the community. We often do a before dinner and after dinner meeting with members of the community, depending upon who's coming when, and gather that information for you. Then it's a matter of sitting back and waiting for the applications to come in. So you're going to need to tell us where you want those applications sent. You may want them sent here, and you need to determine how you'd like those applications processed.
Actually, that was a point of question. Assuming we get a list of attributes for candidates to apply, and I'm assuming that, you know, with some input from us, but also from the subcommittee, would you do the first, you know, that first weeding out and submit them to the search committee, or do you think they should just come to the search committee?
Well, first of all, you need them, if you're going to put out a promotional document
Mm-hmm.
to tell the community about university candidates at large about your search, they're going to need to get that information to whoever is editing the brochure. Now, I know you're going to design and produce the brochure
Mm-hmm.
yourselves. Many districts put that brochure online.
That'd be
And
straightforward, yeah.
you'll just need to give us some information about what you'd like to go on the websites for the Superintendent's Association and the School Committee Association, and we'll get those notices up. That's a standard procedure. It's where most of your candidates will learn about your vacancy. So the decision about, the decision criteria or the key attributes are not that hard to figure out, but there may be some specific criteria that are unique to Clinton, depending upon what your priorities and needs are. Some people want to do some building, some people want to do some reorganization, some people want to deal with financing and additional revenue. Some people want to consolidate their school district with another one, whatever it might be. I don't want to start any bad rumors. I'm just saying, you want a superintendent who brings the general set of skills, but there may be some very specific skills that you need. Most of the time that we see that, it involves around building, and new building. And that stuff can go into the brochure, and we can work with you on figuring out the text. But the key elements in the brochure, online or not, are description of the community and the schools, which you have.
Right.
Data about the schools, which you have. It's always very helpful for candidates to know who are the members of the school committee and when are their terms up. Because they want to have some sense of confidence that they'll be, the people that hire them will be around for a little bit. And not, occasionally you get a school committee that hires a superintendent in October, and then there's a November election and half of them leave and the superintendent inherits a new group, so they want to get some sense of knowing about stability. So we can speak with you offline about working on the actual brochure itself. Getting it up online is very easy because it will be in an electronic format. If you want to mail it or distribute it to a universe of candidates, we have a mailing list and we can mail that for you if you wish, or you can mail it yourselves and we'll send you the mailing list. We can put them on labels and you can send them from here, or we can do them from Boston, just for the cost of postage.
Okay.
The compensation parameters are a very critical component of what goes into a search brochure. The candidates are going to ask about the school committee. It's a stable group. How long will they be here? They're going to want to know about the community. They're going to want to know about any extraordinary circumstances that may be going on. I don't know that you're going through anything that's unique to this district that's unusual. You're really not. Sometimes a district is in the midst of state sanctions. Sometimes there's a pending takeover. Sometimes, as in the case of Munson, they lost their high school to a tornado. Anything unusual that a candidate needs to be mindful of. Then we put it all out there and the recruitment of candidates begins. But the brochure is going to need to have some information about compensation.
Right.
Sometimes the only thing that's said about compensation is appropriate salary and fringe benefit package negotiable.
Right.
But what is a greater determinant of how many people you'll get as candidates will be how big that number is. So
is that typically part of the promotion and the
it
people
is
actually
part
put a
of-
number?
It's usually on the brochure.
Okay.
If you elect to advertise, and I don't know whether you would elect to do some advertising, but if you did, and you chose something like Education Week, or you chose the Worcester Telegram, or the Gardner newspaper, or whoever it is that covers you most closely here, that's something else that might also be listed on the advertisement. So we can put the ad together for you based on the data that you provide, although if you have graphic capacity, we can assist you with doing that here. The key steps, again, one more time, is that you want to get the search committee ready to go with an orientation date. You want to get the focus groups scheduled and the time frame for the online focus group, focus survey to be up. And then I can share with you access to the survey if you wanted us to put it up, or if you want to put it up yourselves, you can do that with models. Complete a timeline so that the candidates know roughly how long things will work. As I said, if you're able to get your materials ready by the beginning of October,
Yep.
you can close your search probably the 10th of October, 10th
November?
of November.
Mm-hmm.
And your search committee can begin, and if they're expeditious and if they get oriented at some point during October, they could start selecting their candidates and begin the interviews be done by the 1st of December. And conceivably, depending upon how fast you want to move, the school committee could start its interviews very quickly, and you could be done before the holidays, or you could run it into January. But you're definitely in good position to be among the first districts to conclude a search by mid-January at the latest,
Mm-hmm.
barring extraordinary phenomenon like bad weather disrupting your search process.
Never happens, sir.
Is, a quick question, is it right to assume that, as far as the pay, that if there was no other help for the superintendent, like a curriculum director and the grant writer and all, that we'd have to set the bar much higher, the financial bar much higher, and we could keep it more on the lower end if we had somebody that does the grants and the curriculum and PD and that kind of thing?
Well, you know, there is a phenomenon known as the hometown discount. The internal, not the internal, but the candidate who stays and gets what the teachers get, whatever, and whose salary grows consistent with the rest of the district, while superintendent salaries outside of the district grow faster, because it is a seller's market in that respect. So oftentimes the superintendent can be the curriculum director, personnel director, occasionally the business officer, sometimes the technology officer, and that comes with the job. The salary is more, it's sort of like, how do they price tickets to a Patriots game? It's what the market will bear, not what they're worth watching.
So a question with what you're saying now, we're going to get applicants with a wide variety of backgrounds, hopefully, that will,
Depending on how broadly you set the job description, so that you may set it broadly to cast a wider net. If you're very restrictive and say we only want incumbent superintendents with 5 years' experience in the superintendency, you'll get a much smaller pool than if you say we'd like to see central office experience is highly valued, experience as a building manager is highly valued, doctorate is highly valued but not required. You'll get a much greater pool, and I would encourage you to cast a big net.
because what I'm looking at is, you know, maybe we should hold off as far as making it known we're looking for a curriculum director or somebody in that job area to offset what the superintendent has for responsibilities, because we might find somebody that's their niche, that's their area of strength, and we might need to offset their weakness with another type of personnel.
That's always a possibility. Which is why usually a salary is put out there with a range, and the range could depend on the final negotiation of a contract, including job responsibilities. By the way, if I don't remember to say this again, if and when you make a decision about whom you wish to negotiate employment with, you always appoint the person subject to the negotiation and agreement to a mutually agreeable contract of employment. You don't want to hire somebody and close the search and not have yourselves with the flexibility of walking away if someone doesn't negotiate a contract suitable to you. And I will tell you that the model contract that you'll get from us looks very different from the model contract that the Superintendent's Association puts out.
Uh,
Superintendent's Association would recommend that every school committee member be required to report every complaint and every concern they hear to the superintendent. Now, it's not a bad idea, but it's impossible to comply with. You can't conceivably report every complaint that you hear, and every concern that's raised. So you don't want to put yourself into a box that you can't get out of, especially if you end up having a contentious relationship with your superintendent at some point in the future.
Right.
Everybody's on their best behavior during the first date. And then it's a very happy marriage until somebody says no. Then things can go south.
So, I know you said you had some sheets with questions and things like that you were going to distribute here, but I'd given people a list of attributes. Is that something that the search committee should put together and send to you, and you can kind of massage it?
Well, we could, I mean, if you gave us the list, if you sent us what people have put together,
Yeah.
we could try to put them in some orderly sequence and send them back to you very quickly.
Yep.
So that you don't, group editing is always a problem.
Right.
It is beneficial to rely on the benign tyrant to coordinate and get this stuff out, because it's not that complicated unless there's a culture of discussing everything to death, which I don't think exists here, but does exist in some other places. So
All right.
I'd be more concerned with, at least from our end, of getting some dates locked up that we can save to come out and do your focus groups
Okay.
and orient your search committee.
Because our focus groups are going to drive some of the attributes we're looking for, right?
Well, it's going to drive the questions that get asked, and they will guide you as you make your decision. The community focus groups, the faculty focus groups can be very helpful. When you couple that with the fact that you're going to get 15 to 20 times more responses on an online survey, you can put that all together and get a really good idea of where the community's coming from. And the candidates really appreciate that information.
Okay.
Once it's purged of the inappropriate comments. For example, occasionally, people will use the survey to say, Mr. X, my middle school such and such teacher is terrible and should be fired from the profession. Well, that Mr. X has an expectation of privacy. So when you get the open response questions, we generally mark them for you so you can take them out, and those would not become public. But the other ones can be very instructive.
Mhm.
People sometimes use it like social media and decide to use it as a weapon of some kind, but we can manage them.
All right. So those forums where you elicit input from either the teachers or the folks within the town, are those pre-existing questions that you have? This is
Well,
kind
we would generally, first of all, we pose any questions you wanted us to pose, but we
Right.
generally pose 4 or 5 questions. Number one, what are some of the strengths and attributes, the favorable attributes of the Clinton Public Schools that the next superintendent needs to nurture, cultivate, preserve, protect, and expand?
Mhm.
So if you have some particular programs that you're very proud of, some traditions, culture, that's an important part of the community, the candidates want to know that. Secondly, what are some of the areas for growth, development, change as we move into the next few years? What are what's on your wish list? So this is when the stakeholders will sometimes start talking about programs that they'd like to see created. They may offer some constructive criticism. They may offer you recommendations. Third, what are some of the characteristics that you would like to see in your next superintendent? And we ask them, especially the teachers and parents, to base their observations not on any particular superintendent, but on what they believe would be the best attributes of their superintendent going into the future. Question 4, is there anything else I need to know that we haven't asked? And any other comments that you'd like to make that you think should go into a focused summary report? And as I say, we, depending upon how you schedule this, sometimes, and I would leave it to you to figure it out, sometimes we go into the school library and just hold court there from 12 to 2:30. And then at the end of the day, we'll go to a particular room for the people who'd like to come after school, so that everybody can either drop in or drop out or come after school and talk to us. Then there's usually before dinner, because there are some people that want to hit the focus group before they go home, late in the afternoon, maybe 4:30 to 6, and it's there. And then after dinner at 7 to 8:30. And the only real qualifier that we like is that, and during the day, sometimes in mid-morning, the superintendent might want to get the administrative team or the principals together to talk about their concerns. The only thing we ask is that when we talk to teachers, that there be no administrators present.
That's fair.
Yeah, they just,
Makes sense.
they're not forthcoming if they're,
So do you interview the focus groups, or does the search committee, or do you and the search committee?
well, first of all, other than the teachers and the administrators, the search committee open to the public.
Yeah,
And frankly, the public is never intimidated by the presence of the school committee. They're never intimidated by the presence of their elected officials when they're, I mean, you know, people will not hesitate to complain to you if they feel like complaining, or tell you what they like. So oftentimes, members of the search committee, members of the school committee will come to the focus groups. I will tell you that in the absence of real trouble, you don't always see a lot of live people at the focus groups. Now, the people that come give you really good impact, but I've been in districts where you get very, very low attendance live, but incredible response online, because it's just so much easier. Unless there's trouble. If there's trouble, which you don't have right now, trouble, people turn out. If the superintendent's being thrown out, if there's missing money, if there's some type of other irregularities, people will show up. In the absence of something real scandalous, you will get people who'd like to tell you what they think and give you some feedback, but not nearly in the numbers as you might otherwise. So don't look for trouble where no trouble exists, but that's why we encourage you to have both live and online focus group discussions. And I would be the person doing that. I might have somebody with me, but would be me.
Awesome.
I think that's great. I think having an experienced hand go through this and with an understanding of, what are some of the look-fors, the best practices, if you will, of these focus groups and how they're best led. I think we would appreciate that.
The best practice is to throw the questions out there, let people tell you what they think, probe if they give you an answer, and if there's more that you think. Someone might say, I'd like to see greater flexibility. Okay, well, what do you mean? What kind of flexibility? Some people would say, we'd like better access to the buildings. Well, what do you mean? They might say, we'd like to have them open for athletics on Saturday, or we'd like to have a senior center located in a school building, or you probe. Get what you want.
When we're talking about forums and focus groups, are they synonymous, or are they two different things? Okay, all right. Because focus groups, I'm picturing like a specific group of people, and I was picturing forum just being like anyone that
Yeah,
wanted to come in.
Use the word forum.
Okay,
It's an interactive forum.
okay.
With the
So,
public.
so the focus group is not a group that's gonna be figured out ahead of time, it's just gonna be
No.
like teachers?
It's whoever comes.
Okay, got it.
And I also think that it's something we haven't done in the past, but I think the forums will be very helpful, because I think the search committee, to get them up to speed in terms of the types of questions and the types of answers, I think it'll be really helpful for the search committee too, to hear and get practice with that kind of give and take, because obviously the group has to sort of hit the ground running, and they haven't necessarily, they may have opinions, but I think having that kind of experience and hearing that input will be very helpful too.
And I can, if you want us to put the survey out,
Mhm.
I can show you how to access the survey data so that you can pull up whatever you want.
Okay.
The online survey data is, we will optionally ask people to identify themselves if they wish. You might want to know whether they fall into a category: parent, student, faculty member, community member, whatever. But we generally, unless they tell us who they are, we don't know who they are.
Right.
But we still find, what we do get is we get, what do you call it, IP numbers? So we know if the same computer is responding more than once.
Right.
But we don't know who it is.
Right.
So we don't know the same one. Now, and the only time, really, the only time when we ever get more than 2 or 3 responses from the same computer is if somebody's using the school library. So when we did this in Wachusett Regional, when we did this focus group process, we did 4 or 5 focus group sessions. We talked to a total of about 30 or 40 people live, but we had 1,300 online responders.
Wow.
And no computer responded more than twice, except for the one in the high school library where we had about 50 responses. So people don't abuse it. It's very consistent.
I think the anonymity would be helpful too, to get people to speak frankly. I think, being able to, I think it would be helpful to have those categories, whether it's someone who's a parent or a concerned citizen or what have you. I mean, that's helpful, just general information, but I think that anonymity will be a helpful aspect of that.
Now, another protocol question. You can have the applications sent here, or you can have them sent to us. We will gather them for you if you wish, or you can have them sent to the district, whatever you decide.
What's the typical practice?
It goes both ways. Oftentimes, if there is a peaceful transition, the stuff can go to the school district. Sometimes people want it to go to us, and just as a courtesy, if it does go to the school district, you'd need to establish a secure file, because the applications are confidential personnel documents until the candidates become finalists, if they do. And then the finalist candidate resumes are public documents. But the candidates who don't go forward, their applications are treated as confidential personnel documents, so you need to have a secure place to put that. And sometimes the concern about that security is why they will sometimes ask us to do it versus the district. If we were to receive them, we will turn them all over to the school district. What happens is that when they come in, I just suggest this is a pretty good strategy. When they come in, somebody should scan them, make an electronic copy of every application, so that, let's say you get 20 applications. So when the applications close, the night they close, somebody can email the applications to the members of the search committee. We have very, very few abuses of confidentiality among search committee members. You understand that's a legal confidentiality, so anybody that leaks something from the search committee is personally liable, and that's why there are very few problems. But people do appreciate being able to get their copies electronically right away, so if you close on, say, Thursday, November 10th, they've got Veterans Day weekend, 3 days to
review
look
them.
over. Occasionally, we are asked if we would do a voluntary advisory tiering of the candidates. That means sometimes we know more about the candidates, oftentimes we know more about the candidates than the search committee would.
Right.
So occasionally we can give them some advisory notes about the candidates. Put them in a top tier, middle tier, lower tier, or an absolutely don't bother tier.
Well, I'm
You
sure
know-
that would be really helpful. I mean, that's probably one of the
Yeah, we
reasons
could-
that we'd have them sent to you, I guess. would
And
be-
it, well, if they were sent, even if they were sent to the district,
Right.
if they were scanned,
You could do
and you
it.
sent them to us,
Okay.
we could quickly turn around an advisory
Okay.
memo.
I'll let the subcommittee decide. I'm sure that would be
Yeah.
great. But
Now, do you have a subcommittee of the school committee that's acting as a steering committee for the search?
right, there will
Okay.
be. I just haven't named it yet because I'm waiting for the last two
And will
members.
those people be members of the search committee?
Yeah, they'll lead that. They'll lead that group.
Okay, because I strongly recommend that members of the school committee, but not a majority,
No, there'll be two.
serve on the search
There'll be
committee.
two.
That provides a very helpful balance.
Is an MASC member, representative, a member of the search committee typically, beyond the orientation?
Well,
Just in terms of facilitation.
generally not unless you wanted it. In a technical assistance situation, that's the difference between a fee and a no fee. However, if you wanted somebody present for all of the interviews, see, the thing is, our presence during the interviews is more a chaperoning presence, sort of liaison with the candidates. Oftentimes, in a technical assistance situation, someone from the district fills that function. So you'd have to let us know what you wanted to do in that regard. There's some parliamentary advice that can be helpful under any circumstance. We're never more than a phone call away, but we would provide you with whatever service you wanted in that regard.
Thank you.
Do you? I'm just curious. The last? Actually, I've been on a number of these searches, and I'm always shocked when we ask for certain documents and people submit incomplete applications. Is that? I mean,
Well,
is it something about our process? I'm always shocked if you ask for A, B, and C, and someone just gives you A and B. It's kind of like it's.
yes, I actually forgot to mention this. If you'd like to use a standard application form that we use, we have an online application form that, I should make a note of that. We have an online application form wherein you instruct the candidates, here's what we want.
Okay.
We want this information from you about yourself. We want X letters of reference. We'd like to see a transcript. A couple of other documents that may be appropriate. Certainly a cover letter, and certainly a statement of educational philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
And that should be part of the package when it comes in. Occasionally, somebody loses something inadvertently. Sometimes they give you old references because you don't want to see the recent ones. So there is some element of diligence that you need when the stuff comes in, and if you want the application sent here, we'll certainly be available to advise your people here in the district about how to handle that stuff.
Okay. Other questions, or? Um, We have a meeting a week from tonight, so I should be able to formalize the subcommittee, and then they can, I guess, communicate with you guys and figure out how to proceed, and we could all discuss a timeline at the next meeting, in general.
I'll have a draft. I'll have a draft for the next meeting.
He's gonna be the engineer, so we will.
He is, isn't he?
Yes,
Time.
how coincidental. So we'll be able to do that, and then
How soon do you think the search committee would be appointed?
by next Monday.
Yeah.
I've already heard from a number of people, so I'm almost there. I'm waiting for input from the community. That letter just appeared on Friday, so I gave till this Friday as a deadline, so I'm gonna wait till then.
Well,
Did that go out through Connect Ed as well?
Yes, I can do it again if you want.
No.
could be
if it went out,
helpful.
that's-
A reminder.
I'm sorry, say again.
It could be helpful
Yeah.
if you instructed the interested parties when they had to be available for an orientation.
Okay.
They had to
Well, I
get-
think we'll establish that on Monday. We should be able to do that Monday, and maybe throw out a couple of dates and see how that.
Make sure if you throw it a couple of days, it's a couple of days when we're available to be here.
Yom Kippur, maybe? Perhaps
So
not.
Which night? Why is this district different from all other districts?
There you go.
I'll just tell you, I'll throw some dates out
Okay,
real quick. If you're gonna do this on Monday, the 26th,
yes.
give everybody, could do the 4th, could do the 6th of October.
Mhm.
They usually don't like to do Fridays.
Right.
No.
We could do the 8th in the morning if they wanted. We could do the 11th. That's probably not a good day, I'm sorry.
No.
If necessary, the 13th. The 17th. 20th. 24th. Or the 26th.
Okay.
Now, the
That's a lot
reason
of
I
dates.
throw all those dates out is so that you know, our schedules are wide open, but they close very quickly. So I have very few nights next week, and no more nights the rest of this week. But later in October, it's still wide open, because that's just the way it is with school districts. And if you, the week of the 31st, we're involved with the state convention, so that's gonna be preoccupying us. But prior to that, we could be a little more flexible. And then, when they have their orientation meeting, they can schedule the rest of their meetings.
Okay.
So
That's great.
that will get you going there. And if you wanted to schedule dates for focus groups, because that does not necessarily rely on the search committee. If you wanted to do that now,
Yeah.
we could do them sooner rather than later.
I mean, I think, it would be valuable to get some input from the principals and the superintendent as far as what might be going on in the schools those
Would it
days.
be, like, after school? Would that be the best time? Like, let's say for the
Well,
teacher groups?
To talk to the teachers, we like to be available during the school day.
Okay,
And we like to try to get principals or administrators, because they're a little bit more flexible with enough advance notice.
yes.
For the teachers, depending upon where you wanted us to be, as I say, we could meet with them in one location or another. If there's scattered timing during the day, we can work that out.
So would you be here, like, let's say at Clinton High, would you be here all day long, and teachers would come in to speak to you if they wanted
Yeah,
to?
let's say I was here, and maybe some administrators wanted to come in mid-morning, and then we might want to talk to students as well, if they have certain periods when students are available. teachers, as I say, may want to drop in and out of the library for discussions. And then at the end of the day, whenever teachers are free, if they wish to come, at the end of the day.
All right, but does
And
that
we're-
mean, like 3 different days to do this? In other words, Clinton High, you spend most of the day and then you stay after school for those who can't come during the day? You do the same thing at Clinton Middle and same thing at Clinton Elementary? Or
We could if you wanted.
I just mean, no, most of the time, if you were in this building, yes, you'll get plenty of input from the high school
Yeah,
teachers.
what time does high school end?
High school ends at, the building's at 2:09.
And what about the middle school or the elementary?
Middle
school?
school is about 10 minutes of 3, and the elementary is more like 3 o'clock, 3:10.
How far is the elementary school from?
Everything's close by, so when I speak at faculty meetings, many times, I go from Clinton High to Clinton Middle to Clinton Elementary all in one day.
We could do the same thing.
Okay, it's not gonna give you a lot of time, but if they,
Well, but if, teachers don't seem to mind being in the same group with others if we just did 3 separate meetings and said, come when you can.
Does that include people from the town? I mean,
Those would be after school.
After
And
school,
yes,
evening.
okay.
Yeah, I could
Evening.
also, if I had someone with me, we could split up as well. So
okay.
don't let yourself be restricted by that.
I mean, typically, like a faculty meeting here would be like, let's say, 2:15 to, let's say, 2:45.
Okay.
So if that's enough time, you run next door at 2:45.
30 minutes is rushing it.
Is it? Okay. I'm just,
But, well, I shouldn't say that. It depends on, in a district that's not in crisis, it could be enough, but you don't want to say to a group of teachers, we want to have some feedback from you. Oh, but by the way, you gotta be
5
somewhere
minutes.
else,
Make it
so
quick.
I can't hear from you anymore. We leave that to the Department of Education. We try not to work that.
all right, I think that's all you'd get would be about half an hour then. And then, of course, you could spend plenty of time at the last stop, which is a mile down the road, and they would normally have a faculty meeting till more like 3:15, 3:20, till whenever, 4 o'clock.
But-
So it is a rush, but I'm just suggesting for your sake, that probably could be done in one fell swoop, one day of really rush, rush, rush.
Couldn't it be the kind of thing where you had access in the middle school and the high school, and then middle school and high school teachers that aren't available could come to the elementary school?
Right.
Isn't that
Makes
something
sense.
that,
Yeah. I mean,
You know,
that
just,
could be done easily
you know.
enough. And obviously, if they're interested in doing this, they'll be there.
Right, and if you're here for, an hour or two anyway, at least then people have free periods, they can come down here and speak with you. So not everybody can do, it gives you a little
So
more of a window.
I don't know if it's worth you having a conversation with the principals about what the teachers want in terms of
And
access.
They always have the option of coming at night as well.
Correct.
That's true, too.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
And teachers frequently do come in the evening. They
Okay.
just don't make the same comments that they would in the daytime if their supervisors were present. Which is a good thing. So we'll be in touch
I'll
about,
talk with the
Actually
principals and
getting
see
the
what
dates set.
we can do.
Okay.
and,
I mean, if there were 2 of you, it would make it a lot easier, and then we really could do, if this gets carried away, somebody goes next door right away, and they stay for a while, and we keep it going as well, but,
yeah, and that certainly is very doable. We have much more flexibility on time during the day than we do at night.
Yeah,
'Cause
everybody's got
most of
things
our
to
work
do
is
at
done
night.
is at night.
Right. Anybody have any other questions, or?
so those dates you gave would be the orientation meeting for the search
Orientation
committee,
search
the
committee.
full search committee,
And that would be about a 90-minute to 2-hour meeting,
okay?
and that's when we would get started with
Expectations.
organizing how a search works, begin the development of questions,
Mhm.
and go from there.
Awesome.
Mr. Chairman, I have a quick question. Just a point of clarification. So all the applications / resumes would go to the search committee, correct? Or,
Well, the applications would be filed
Right.
with whoever you want them filed with. They can go to your central.
Right, that's what I'm
office.
saying.
Once
Once
Typically,
they
we go
get
to,
them, right.
typically,
Then-
Mary has done it.
Mary has always
Right,
done it.
And
Once
then
they-
what
she can
often
scan.
happens is,
Right.
search committees will ask us to tier their candidates in an advisory capacity.
Correct.
But search committees also want to see everything that comes in. So they don't want somebody like me telling them, here's who we've decided
Correct.
you should interview.
that's
They
my
would-
question. So my question is, I want to step, so at some point, should the whole school committee see those,
The
that
search
tier,
committee will see them.
but not the
The
whole
people
school?
that don't go forward to the search committee
Okay,
will not be known to the search committee
that's what I'm asking.
in order to protect their anonymity. That's how the
That's
law
what I'm-
works with this.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to clarify. Okay, perfect.
So, sorry, you said the people that don't go forward to the search committee, but you meant the school committee, right,
Yes,
as
to the school
finalists?
committee.
Okay.
Yes. The
just-
search
okay.
committee will see everything.
Right,
And theoretically, they will, let's say they get 20 applications, they interview 10 people, they move 3 people forward to the school committee.
Right.
The school committee will not see the other 17
right,
candidates.
we only see what was done by the search committee
But
forward.
those packages will be held
Right.
securely in
Yeah,
the
okay.
district's
Locked file.
lockbox, along with the social security money.
Yes, we have one of those.
We rented a PO box in the past, and everything was mailed to a PO box. And then,
Well, but you're gonna have to open them.
no, I know, and then I would go get them, and I would keep them in where I keep all the Corys in a locked cabinet.
That would be where they would go.
Yeah.
And they are not public documents.
Yeah.
So,
Mary handled the last 3 searches, 4.
so
Too many-
that's,
too many to
that's-
remember,
That's
apparently.
the procedure.
All right. Anybody else?
This is incredibly helpful, thank you.
Thank you.
You're the first ones out of the box, so
Good start.
hopefully you'll get the best
We'll
out.
try and hit the ground running, and we appreciate your coming out and getting the
you,
ball
Glenn.
rolling, as it were.
Does it seem like a deep pool, generally? I mean,
Stage of the year,
yeah.
you know, it's hard, it's very hard to say.
I don't mean for us specifically, but when you do these searches,
Well,
does
the
it, I know
pools-
everyone's different, but
I
are there a
did-
lot of candidates out
I
there?
did my first search in 1975, when 120 people wanted to be the superintendent in Cambridge. And the last time Cambridge did a search, they struggled to find 4 finalists for a superintendency that was paying about $275,000.
How's
There are a lot of reasons for
shock?
that. You know, I mean, it's
Yeah.
a tough job, it's a lot tougher, it gets tougher every year.
Right.
You're under a microscope. Being in Massachusetts, you have to deal with the Department of Education, which is about as popular with its stakeholders as the Department of Corrections is with its. No matter how good you are, you'll fail on paper, and there's a great deal of stress involved with it. So,
Other than that, it's a very appealing job.
but this
Really
is,
great.
but Massachusetts is a good place to be, the quality of life is good. Just put away the bureaucracy and the regulations, and if you enjoy working with children and adults, this is a great job. And
Well-
good people still want to do it, not as many as before. And the early retirement system encourages people to go long before they would have gone in a previous generation. So fewer and fewer people are still in the job, and it's still in the job pool.
Well, we have some work to do.
Yes, indeed. Well, thank you very much. You had some other literature. to-
No, I'm gonna leave this with your secretary.
Okay,
These are
good.
resource documents.
Okay, good.
And some on your thumb drive as well? I didn't do that.
I'm sorry.
Very subtle.
You said you had samples on your thumb drive as well.
Oh, yeah, actually, yeah, I have samples of surveys, and I have some comparative data that you may also want to look at.
Okay.
And if somebody's got a computer, why,
Right here.
Yeah.
you can just
And then you could distribute it.
download
Sure.
it
It could just
to
be the,
you, and you can share it with the appropriate.
And I will send it right to Mary and not look at it.
Okay, well, you can look at it.
You can look at it.
Thank you.
Not the
That'd be
Manhattan
great, thank you.
Project.
So you give that to him to download, that'd be awesome.
Robert, I have something for public comments when the time comes.
Oh, yes. We certainly appreciate you coming out, Glenn. So we're good?
No, I get a question.
Everything's good? Okay.
Yes, it just, normally we have old business, new business at the end of the agenda, and all we have left is public comments, but without going into too much detail for confidentiality's sake, we are in need of hiring a one-on-one aide. Now, what's happened is we are bringing in our first tuition special education student from a local district. And Kathy has been working hard with attorneys and with the school district involved. And so in other words, the student would be coming to Clinton Public Schools, and the neighboring community would be paying for all of the services and everything. So ultimately, you know, it looks like it's coming under the general fund, but the income is coming from, you know, a local community.
Okay.
And so we're bringing in probably about $85,000. This is a special needs student, but he comes with a one-on-one aide. So
Okay.
ultimately, I mean, that town would be paying for this aide. And so at first, it was my fault. I didn't think we needed to bring that to your attention since we're kind of not paying for it. But it is a new position, so it does have to come before the school committee. But Mike?
So the base tuition is 85,000, and then the full cost of the one-to-one will be billed to the district that is sending the student?
Now, 85,000 is altogether. We've gone through, Kathy would know, but 85 is the total. The one-on-one aid will be about $20,000. But there'll be other services provided that we have worked out as far as, let's say, OT or PT or something like that. So it's not 85 plus whatever, but all that money that would come in would pay for this with perhaps some left too.
Okay, so, and then next year will be our,
And next year, it's a year-by-year thing. So if,
Wow.
for instance, things didn't work out and the student would have to go somewhere else, it's right back to the home community, and it's not like we would have to pick up a,
Year-to-year
you know,
commitment.
whatever.
okay.
Do you have a rate established?
That's our first one, so I know Kathy did a lot of work with a lot of different communities and attorneys and step by step by step. So that amount is right for us, we think, without us going into debt over any of this or whatever, and having.
No, I apologize, not questioning the 85,000.
Okay.
The rate for the one-to-one, has that been established? The hourly rate?
Well, it would be part of like a union type of thing, so we have, I don't know, maybe 15 to 22 or something is.
So it'd be below $25 an hour? It'd be below $25 an hour, is that correct?
Oh, way below.
Okay, I'm only asking for reimbursement purposes, so.
No, we know you know that stuff.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, so it's our first one ever, and in a way, it's kind of exciting, it really is.
I'm not voting on this, right?
We're not,
I think we need to, if that's acceptable to you,
Well, I just-
you need to approve a new position.
so we'll need a
We have a
motion.
question, we have a
I'm not sure we
question.
can do that
Okay.
under public comment. That's
No, oh, I see what you're saying.
So I'm not sure we can legally do that in public comment. It may be a violation of open meeting law. Not sure on that, but
Well, can we do that in the next meeting? We're having a meeting
Well,
next Monday?
We could, we want the student to start right away, and so,
Starting before next Monday?
yes.
So could a substitute cover that?
Hmm?
Could a substitute cover that until it's,
Until, I suppose, that we might be able to do it that way.
maybe connect Glenn.
because you gotta do a posting anyway,
So
right?
Glenn, a matter of procedure here. We, this wasn't on the, I guess this has come up, it wasn't on the agenda, so we have a special
We did not
needs.
reasonably anticipate that it would come up.
Right.
Right, so you
So-
can talk about it.
Hmm?
Can we vote on it?
So
Well,
you
can we
talk
vote
about
on it?
Yes.
We
Okay.
can.
If
There
you
you
did
go.
not know it was, if you did not reasonably anticipate that it would be coming up.
There we go.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
we didn't.
I surprised them on purpose. No, we didn't have that part at the end. We always have old business and new business.
Okay, so
So-
can I get a motion then?
No.
So
hold on a
moved,
second.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion.
Well,
I need a motion to discuss it.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm sorry?
well, we just get a motion in
Yes,
a
we do.
second, then we
Yeah.
can have more discussion. on it.
All right, so,
So you made a motion.
We can
motion
discuss it.
here.
I'll second it.
All right, motion is made and seconded,
Now
and
we
you
can-
have some other.
So the other,
comments?
the rest of the impact of the service delivery model for this child is neutral in terms of minutes
Yes,
and?
yes, we have all of the resources available as we do for all of our children. So this is another child, but it's, the major cost to us would be, the first cost would be a one-on-one, an additional one-on-one. And that's why I went to you people for that. The other, we already have the OTs, the PTs, and the other services that we provide to many of our students. This student would use those services.
And I
we
understand that
figured out
completely,
too.
but, service providers have a number of minutes that they can meet in their schedule, and if
Yes,
this,
yep.
if this student or other subsequent students had more minutes than we have service delivery
Right,
minutes
but
to
we-
provide.
Yes, but the town is paying for that too. I mean, the other community has that.
Have we,
They have the time.
No,
They-
Okay, they have the time in their
Yes,
schedules, so
yes.
it's, okay.
have we established who's doing the testing, or is this an annual? I mean, so.
I think it's an annual, so I mean, and that
so
was
we-
one of the things
so we
I
have
was
to think of
concerned
that
about.
moving forward in the
Yes.
future, when it becomes a 3-year, who's gonna be responsible, because that's taking away from, so we just wanna plan for that.
Okay.
So can you clarify those minutes for me, because you guys are really well versed in that.
Well, you create an IEP. You have a list of services that are provided and how often those are provided over the course of a period, whether that's a, 6-day rotation or a 5-day or
1
whatever.
hour a week or 2 hours a week.
And some of those, you have B grid minutes and C grid minutes. The B grid minutes are, kind of inclusion type minutes in a classroom.
Right.
The C grid minutes are pull out or sub-separate minutes.
Yep.
And so, speech, for example, or OT or physical therapy, those kinds of things are delivered by a service provider. And those service providers in the town of Clinton already have X number
Okay,
of
full,
minutes in their
right.
schedules. Presumably, their schedules are already done.
Right.
So
Now I get you.
my question just came from a place of, do we know if the schedules for those additional services that student is going to need, we have the flexibility to do that? Because I don't want to come back and say, oh, by the way, we have to hire another
And I'll teach you to do that.
Right.
service provider.
Yes.
So the answer.
So, and
Yes,
I think the
yes,
answer is,
covered, yes.
you've looked at it, the schedules,
Yes.
that there's enough flexibility
Yes.
to meet the student's needs.
And again, it's the first, so we'll see how it all works out, but it's a year-to-year thing. So,
That answers my question, thank
Okay,
you.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any other? All those in favor? It's unanimous.
Thank you very much.
I just wanted to remind everybody that the tri-council meeting is next Monday, where we'll be here for a normal meeting at 7, but the meal is at 5:30.
5:30, it'll be chicken parm. Yeah,
That's there, okay.
I don't want to eat Ed's meal. So 5:30. So
Maybe one more thing.
maybe.
I'm sorry, but as you all know, Saturday, Saturday evening, we had a bit of a
Oh.
bonfire at the Clinton Middle School. And just want to make sure everybody understands, it was never in the school. The school was not on fire. It was probably lit, and I believe that they are very close to finding the culprit. But it was material that was outside the building, very close to the building. And it was basically recycled material that couldn't fit into the bins. And it appears that someone lit it up, and the fire department came, and the heat broke a window, the entire window in the custodial office.
On the side.
Yes, side of the building. So right now, the building is charred. The glass company's coming tomorrow to put in new glass. We're gonna have to, somehow clean the building. But other than that, a big mess, whatever. The police came right away, the fire department came. Fire marshals were here till 11:30 Saturday night. And we'll see what happens, but not a lot of damage, but obviously, we're gonna have to rethink some of the things we're doing there. And, I just met with someone today about an insurance grant that's been going around that maybe would help us with security. You know, maybe those dumpsters should not be right beside the building like they are in the other schools. They're a distance away. So maybe we could get some things paid for through this grant that I'll probably be writing in the next couple of weeks.
I mean, perhaps for discussion on at our meeting on Monday, in addition, obviously, the superintendent stuff, we can talk a little bit about security and possibility of
Sure.
cameras. We can just put it on the agenda for
But
next time.
that should be an executive,
But we should put it in the next,
right,
however you want to do
executive
it.
session,
Okay,
because that's security and
Okay.
cameras and things, and that complies
Okay.
with the law.
okay.
Any of the damages, could they be covered? The town has like an emergency fund for,
Yeah,
would this
I
be
mean,
something that
we have
would be?
insurance, though,
Okay, all
and
right.
Mary's very good at you know, filing claims and
Okay.
quickly and everything. So it's the power wash or whatever of the building will cost us some money.
Okay.
Our head custodian, Matt Kavanaugh, spent quite a few hours there on Saturday night and Sunday
Yeah.
during the day. The window won't cost too much, and the cleanup's done. So I'm not really sure how much we'd collect with insurance, but I am pretty excited after meeting with that guy about a grant. It's for $15,000. I think it's due the end of October, but it's per town. So it would be $15,000 for the town of Clinton. He's given it to Mike Ward, so if Mike had some ideas of the DPW or somebody wanting to file a grant, we would have to, you know, it's 15,000 grand total. So if Mike found something for 10, we could only go for 5. But I think it's time for security purposes and probably recycling and dumpster, fence around it, because that is a problem area, no doubt. And it exposes us to some issues, so.
Okay, so we can discuss that in executive
Okay.
session.
5:30 Monday.
Yes. Motion to adjourn?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
All right.